Today we will be discussing the network and communications. Let's first discuss the entry points in networks and principles of authentication techniques. The network and communications links exist to make the systems connected to authorized users. Unfortunately, it also makes them available to all the unauthorized ones. If there is an internet connection somewhere, then there are more than around 3 billion potential unauthorized users. Any location, logical or physical, from which a user or a device can gain access to a network is considered an entry point. These include, but are not limited to, a terminal or a PC in an office, a console on a server, a broadband connection, a router for a connection from another network. If any part of wireless networking is involved, the perimeters become much harder to define, because the ability of an attacker to use advanced radio devices greatly increases the effective range from which they can access the network. Another way of protecting your system is partitioning networks. Partitioning a network is another way of protecting essential systems. It is the same principle as physical access control, to limit access to sensitive areas of the office, or the need-to-know principle where only certain people are allowed to have knowledge of some information. Partitioning a network limits the amount of data that can be seen and makes the job of an attacker much harder. It is also true that partitioning can limit the damage done by malware. There are various approaches to partitioning networks, like physical cabling separation, use of virtual private networks, VPNs, configured in network hardware, and use of protocols. Another way of protecting your system is cryptography in networking. There are two common mistakes many people make when they think of cryptography. The first one is that they think it stops people from being able to see your data. This is not the case. Attackers can still see your data, but if you have got the cryptography right, it means they can't understand it. The second one is that they think cryptography is only used to provide confidentiality. Once again, this is wrong. The four main uses of cryptography are: 1. Secrecy. Nobody else can see the plain text. 2. Data integrity. The data has not been changed, deleted or inserted. 3. User verification. This is the person they claim to be, and 4. Non-repudiation. The sender cannot later deny sending the message or its content. Network usage policy. The network usage policy document exists to define the purposes for which the network may, and may not, be used. It will also define the individuals and roles who are allowed to use it in the official line on access control. This will include definitions of the user profile for each role, privileges, password lengths and strengths, renewal period and so on. Intrusion monitoring and detection. It has already been mentioned that networks are often attacked from the outside by unauthorized users, or by authorized users within the organization, attempting to perform tasks for which they are not authorized. It is important that the network has some means of detecting and reporting on these attacks. This is part of the role that is generally referred to as protective monitoring. Let's discuss about protective monitoring tasks. The first task is to ensure that all relevant log data is recorded securely, and in such a way that an attacker cannot change or delete the information, in order to cover their tracks from investigators and auditors. The second task is to look for patterns of behavior that indicate some kind of attack. This can be hardware or software based, and can provide automated alerts for any forms of attacks. Vulnerability analysis and penetration testing. An even more demanding task is that of analyzing systems for vulnerabilities, and performing penetration tests or pen tests. There are also significant legal issues to consider before undertaking any form of pen testing. Good pen testers are often considered to be amongst the elite of information assurance professionals. Vulnerability analysis is the process of examining the network for any vulnerabilities that could increase the frequency or impact of any threat. Penetration tests are sometimes referred to as ethical hacking, because the testers will use many of the techniques that would be used by a hacker in order to identify any weaknesses in the network. The task of managing a network securely is one of the most crucial aspects of IT service delivery. Let's talk about secure network management. No network means no communications. No security means you are open to loss of data, intellectual property, revenue and reputation. Any one of these can put an organization out of business. An insecure network can easily cause several of these at once. In order to manage its business effectively, any organization needs to have information about its infrastructure, like assets, architecture, potential risks, and countermeasures. Thanks for watching.